Well, this afternoon, the Progressive People's Party is actually wading into the debate on Ghana's failing economy with a demand that the licenses of Ghanaian-owned banks be reinstated immediately, which the party actually believes will promote local investment and create the much needed jobs for the betterment of the Republic of Ghana. Now, it is emerging that actually at the start of this year, the leadership of the opposition political party officially sent a request to President Akufo-Addo requesting for an engagement on the economy and the closure of GN Bank. But that meeting never happened. On your screens now are excerpts of the letter that was actually sent to the president on January 22nd. And you have excerpts of that right on your screens. The first point talks about GNSL, which is the GN Savings and Loans, which was downgraded from GN Bank to GN Savings and Loans. Now, the indication is that it is a local business, and all of this is part of the letter actually, that GNSL is a local business owned by the presidential candidate of the Progressive People's Party. And by now you're aware of him. That's Dr. Papa Kwesi Indom, which the party indicates in that letter that the bank was thriving actually prior to the onset of the financial sector crisis. GN Bank, which is the predecessor actually, as I was indicating, of GNSL, invested heavily in technology to reach out to 300 locations in Ghana. So the argument here is that GN Bank is everywhere. I mean, it went across the length and breadth of this country just to ensure that there was a setup there to create more jobs, and it was present in almost every district. But the point that they are also raising in this letter is that it had all manner of infrastructure paid for with valuable shareholders' funds, including that of foreign organizations. And the bank gave good jobs to, guess what, over 6,000 men and women directly across the country. That's part of the reasoning why the Progressive People's Party wants an action and reinstatement of the licenses, part of the letter that they sent to the president. But that's not all. The second point also talks about GN Savings and Loans supporting the business aspirations of many people across the country. The vision of the bank was to be a national bank, as they are indicating now, for the ordinary person, and also a small and medium-scale enterprises. And this explains the reason, as we're seeing in the letter, that the bank invested heavily in infrastructure to be present in markets, communities, villages, and towns, and spreading across the country as well. The aim, as they are indicating, is that they wanted to support SMEs so that the Ghanaian economy can grow. But unfortunately, GN Savings and Loans as well was taken away. So what more is in the demands of the Progressive People's Party this afternoon? There's a point 3, which the party has been laying claims to. They indicate that in the light of the above, the Progressive People Party wishes to make a special appeal to you, Your Excellency, and here they're referring to President Akufo-Addo, and this letter, as we're indicating to you, was sent to the presidency on January 2022, indicating reasons why they believe they need audience with the president, indicating that the president needs to, first of all, consider a special circumstance in which GN Savings and Loans actually finds itself in, the points that we raised earlier about how they are everywhere across the country, and then also to consider the circumstances under which the licenses were revoked. Then do what? Guess what? Reinstate the operating licenses of GN Savings and Loans. And the belief of the Progressive People's Party is that this will restore many jobs, and the valuable assets of the company, which is rotting away, would be put to good use. So you'd have 6,000, potentially 6,000 persons return to their previous employment. We don't know the whereabouts of all of these individuals as of now, but these are excerpts of the letter that we're getting indications was sent to the presidency at the start of this very year. And we will break down the issues for you shortly. But let's wrap up with this, because the Progressive People's Party is also making another point that they're confident that when the president intervenes in these matters in the spirit of the aspirations of inclusiveness to protect the indigenous companies, then we'll begin to see the real effect on the Ghanaian economy, and many jobs will be protected. GN Savings and Loans, which is an indigenous country, will be able to expand. And this is all captured in the point 4 that is being made. But pay attention to this. The Progressive People's Party also indicated at the latter point of this paragraph that they would appreciate an opportunity at the request and convenience of the president to discuss the subject matter further with the representatives of the Progressive People's Party and then stakeholders of GN Savings and Loans. But unfortunately, the party is expressing worry that that never happened. And we'll be getting into the details for you shortly, hearing from the party itself what it thinks we can do to resuscitate the failing Ghanaian economy. But we need to bring you this. The Bank of Ghana has been speaking. It's been talking about a number of steps that they've been taking, remedial measures to avert the imminent collapse of the Ghanaian economy. The governor of the central bank, Dr. Ernest Addison, however, provided data which he argues actually points to the fact that the banking sector is now performing better. Listen.
Developments in the banking sector over the first 2 months of 2022 show continued strong asset growth. Total assets stood at 187.8 billion Ghana cedis in February 2022, representing a 23.5% annual growth, compared with 18.5% growth in the previous year. The growth in assets was on the back of increased deposits and borrowing. Total deposits recorded a year-on-year growth of 18.2% to 123 billion Ghana cedis. Borrowing also increased significantly by 78.8% to 25.5 billion Ghana cedis, relative to the contraction of 23.4% in the previous year. The rebound in credit growth continued in the first 2 months of 2022 with a 70.7% increase in new advances to 8 billion Ghana cedis, compared with a 24.6% growth in the same period last year. Trends in the financial soundness indicators remained positive, underpinned by strong solvency, liquidity, and profitability. The capital adequacy ratio of the industry was 19.6% at end February 2022, well above the current 11.5% regulatory minimum threshold. Core liquid assets to short-term liabilities was 24.2% in February 2022, compared with 26.5% in the previous year. Improvements in asset quality continued into 2022, with the non-performing loans ratio declining to 14.4% on average at the end of February 2022, compared with a ratio of 15.3% in February 2021. Bank's profitability improved over the first 2 months of 2022, with profit before tax estimated at 1.3 billion Ghana cedis compared to 1.1 billion Ghana cedis in the same period last year. Net interest income grew by 10.3% to 2.2 billion Ghana cedis, compared to 10.9% a year ago. Net fees and commissions grew by 11.8% to 486.8 million Ghana cedis, lower than the growth of 13.7% registered during the same period last year. Other income of the bank stood at 383.2 million Ghana cedis, representing a 95.5% growth, compared with a contraction of 16.5% in the same period last year.
Well, so there you have it. The Dr. Addison, who's the central bank governor, indicating in clear terms why he believes that the banking sector is now robust. But the Progressive People's Party actually thinks otherwise. But here's what we've been doing at Joy News. First of all, getting you the cost of the sector, the cleanup, and what implications it has on the economy and how many people actually were affected at the start of this. So take a look at this. Here's what's at stake now. We know that Ghana's banking sector cleanup cost us some 21.6 billion Ghana cedis. That's a lot of amount. Some experts argue that if we had made judicious use of this fund, at least there'll be some level of fiscal space for government to try and maneuver and then make good use of the situation in which we are in terms of the funding gap. However, that's not happening. And how many people were affected? We know that a total amount of some 4.6 million Ghanaians, or perhaps customers as we would refer to them, were affected as a result of the exercise. Investor confidence also was affected, and those who invested, a total of some 81,000 persons, who had actually invested. 81,700, as you're seeing right here, were the total number of investors that were affected. And that also includes the interest of Group Indom, which the Progressive People's Party believes could have changed significantly the situation of the Ghanaian economy. But what's really the argument of the PPP? Let's find out all of that. Joining me now from the United States of America is the 2020 vice presidential candidate of the Progressive People's Party, Kofi Siaon, joining us now. He also understands banking, so will help us first of all to understand this. Hello, sir. Welcome to the program. So, first of all, how would you react to claims that the Progressive People's Party is simply pursuing private interests? We know that your founder, Dr. Pabakwesi Indum, has some interest in GN savings and loans. So are you pushing a private agenda or a national one?
Well, first of all, thank you for having me. To respond directly to your question, we need to understand that entrepreneurs are assets of the Ghanaian economy, and that whether the entrepreneur is Dr. Pabakwesi Indum or Dr. Dufo or any other Ghanaian entrepreneur, what they do for the Ghanaian economy will benefit all of us. So this is not the case that we are pushing a private matter. What we are actually doing is to say that there are ways that we can bring the economy back home. And what you do is to support strategically some Ghanaian investors who will become, if you like, an inspiration to others, whose contribution will make sure that we have what we call the Ghanaianization of the Ghanaian economy, where the major sectors of the economy are not just dominated by foreigners. Of course, Ghana welcomes foreign investors in the banking sector, in the telecom sector, and in many other sectors. But where are their competitors in Ghana? So every government policy, we should know, have certain consequences. And those consequences must include the direct protection of every Ghanaian entrepreneur, including Dr. Pabakwesi Indum. So it is not a private matter, a selfish matter as far as the PPP is concerned. We are doing that to demonstrate that every Ghanaian entrepreneur matter. And government policies, however described, must ensure that Ghanaian industries, Ghanaian businessmen, and Ghanaian companies are protected. I'll give you an example.
What I'm not really clear with, and if you could just help us explain that point, is about the letter that you sent to the president. You were writing as a political party, the Progressive People's Party, talking about your concerns about the economy, and then you are roping in a private interest, something that belongs to your presidential candidate. Why do so? And could that not be the reason why you didn't get the necessary response from the presidency?
Well, it is important that part of the letter also discuss the benefit of the bank that we are asking for its license to be reinstated in terms of the jobs it created, in terms of the value that it will bring to the Ghanaian economy. If you have a major stakeholder in the banking sector being a Ghanaian, all the complaints that, for example, today the governor of the Bank of Ghana has spoken about, that take away dollars from our economy, will be solved and curtailed by an ownership of a Ghanaian nature in such a major sector. We also spoke about the fact that the communities in which the GM Bank had established benefited from direct small to medium scale loans that will generate activity and expand the economic activities in those areas, create the jobs that were needed by all of us, and in a way reduce our dependence on foreign or imports. So it is because GN Bank was the major, if you like, bold Ghanaian initiative. Let's take even government-owned investment in banking. You have ADB, you have NIB, and you have GCB. None of them, even with government Ministry of Finance support, had been able to do such massive investment in the Ghanaian economy like the way GM Bank did.
Well, that's arguable. That's arguable looking at the figures. You're employing somewhere 6,000 persons. We'll get into what difference it will make. First of all, address this for me. Did you get a response, a favorable response from the president on this request? And who was expected to engage the president? Was it Dr. Pabakwesi Indum asking President Akufo-Addo that he had wanted to engage him? And on what key matters? Why didn't you get the necessary response that you're looking for?
Well, we still think that the door is not shut. We know the president is a busy person. He had a tight schedule. So we believe somewhere in his calendar, our name is there waiting for, because the president has to confirm the availability before a letter is issued. So as we speak, we are yet to receive that invitation from His Excellency. We are hopeful. Looking at the current discussions on the economy, I believe the president knows that the Ghanaianization or making some strategic investment and backing Ghanaian enterprises to participate more, if you like, competitively in certain key sectors, including banking, is on the agenda of the president, is on the president's mind.
Okay.
He also, I believe, the president was the one that introduced what he called the Gettysburg economy. So he's fully aware of the important role local ownership of key sectors of the economy can contribute to the stability of our city and so on and so forth.
Okay.
So the invitation, we are hopeful it will come very soon. Now that PGRC is ended, maybe the next invitation will come to the PPP and the shareholders of Group Windom to explain the special circumstances directly to the president. He's busy. A lot of people may be talking to him. If he hears directly from us, we believe that there will be a change of course.
Is it the case that the Progressive People's Party has a solution to the economic challenges bedeviling the country? Is it that you have a proposal that you want to place before the president?
Well, I think everybody knows. The president has known. The governor speaking today, he knows what the problem is. Our diagnosis is not different. What we diagnose is simply the fact that we don't have dollars in the country. And why don't we have dollars? We don't have dollars because we rely too much on import. So even when the central bank is talking about increasing money supply by some 17%, all that happens is that the money goes wrong in the Ghanaian economy. We package it nicely and send it back to the governor and say, Mr. Governor, take your city and give us dollars. So the solution is that you look at what is causing us to look for dollars. And the governor said it today, is because of what happens on the income and service account, where corporate ownership or owners shape their proceeds outside. So when we sell our cocoa and get some $2 billion, these individuals who own significant portions of our economy take that dollars and send it back to their country. The governor confirmed, for example, that we have trade surplus. So why is that not reflecting in the income and service account? It's because the things we export, the owners are not Ghanaian.
But you agree, these are external factors. Reinstating or reversing the license of GN Bank will not change anything, would it?
Well, it goes to the deliberate support. And I was going to give you the example of what President Joe Biden and many other countries are doing in the wake of COVID. There was deliberate, direct investment to support local industry, especially because of the same factors I've alluded to, that if your people don't own capital, if your people don't participate in the economy, what you do is that you constantly will shape the city that is going out. Now, in terms of GN Bank, what happened is just a case that monies that have been used to support our own Ghanaian contractors and entrepreneurs locally is locked up in the government coffers. Those monies must be released. And when those monies are released, it would have offset any regulatory difficulties and challenges that the bank suffered on the basis of which the license was revoked. That is why we are calling for direct executive intervention. So the president, as he's done it before, under Article 58, exercise his executive powers to even postpone the minimum capital requirement for some banks 24 months after the deadline. And some banks were actually given state support to be able to meet their liquidity support. So it is in that respect that we appeal to the president.
Right, Kofi, we need to go. Just 1 minute. I mean, the fallouts from the cabinet retreat. We understand the government is taking a number of steps to cushion the average Ghanaian. But then some experts are also suggesting that we turn to the IMF. In the estimation of the Progressive People's Party, are we there at that point where we should turn to the International Monetary Fund?
Well, as long as we are looking for the dollar that we don't have, we can't continue to let the city suffer and bleed. So if it's dollars we need, obviously we can't go borrowing from the euro market. You have expensive money on your right-hand side, and you have less concessionary money on your left-hand side, being IMF. If that's what we need as a country, we should put pride aside, and whatever Eurobond trajectory we followed, it is clear that the finance minister's option has failed. He has tried his best under the circumstances, but his best has been disastrous. He must put his work aside. If he doesn't believe in IMF, he should put the ship of state down. The president must get rid of him.
You want the finance minister fired?
Obviously, if you look at his performance, it's been disastrous. So on what basis does he continue to hold on to his office? Every indicator, and let me say this, that everything Dr. Bawumia said in 2016 was right. It's just that he's not been allowed to implement the policies that are necessary. If you keep borrowing from the euro market with high interest rate, other than the IMF one, where it's concessionary and also they can ensure accountability, what happens is higher debt, 85% of GDP.
It's just unfortunate. It's just unfortunate that I don't have all of the time, but just briefly on this, we know that what's happening around the world is that many economies are moving out of the vagaries of the COVID-19 pandemic. So what's the big deal in asking the finance minister to go when we indeed know that we're just coming out of a recession, which is due to factors that were not necessarily brought about by the mismanagement of the economy directly, at least. That's arguable, I know.
Well, first of all, it's not true that COVID caused any problem. In fact, COVID postponed the fall of the city because it's during COVID that we had a lot of, if you like, inactivity in the import and export market. So the demand that had to be there during COVID was not there. It was postponed till now. So nobody can say that COVID contributed. How did COVID, if you like, erase or reduce our dollar supply? For which reason the demand is exceeding the dollar supply, for which reason the rate has been falling. So it is not COVID. The COVID reason they give is just a convenient way of hanging, if you like, giving somebody else the blame. Like I've diagnosed, the problem of Ghana's economy is lack of dollars, which has been shipped. COVID made that impossible for some time, and it's now that the importers are going into where they have to go. The governor was just telling you how much fertilizer we import. And let me suggest this, that the things we have in Ghana must benefit Ghanaians. So for example, if we have 30 million Ghanaians, why should any country benefit from how Ghanaians eat rice and chicken? If we cannot provide cars and aeroplanes for Ghanaians to buy and so on, at least chicken and rice should not just give us energy to work for foreign companies. They should let us eat those things made from Ghanaians so that just eating can support the Ghanaian economy. These are the things that we need to pay attention to. Right. And it comes from deliberate intervention and policies. For example, if Dr. Parker's syndrome is supported, there are many Ghanaians sitting in Europe, in America, with dollars sitting in their account used by the American and British banks. Now, if those people know that they'll be supported and promoted, they will bring those dollars back into the economy to benefit us and support our city. Those are the strategic interventions that we are pushing for. And it starts with supporting a massive investment like the one that GM Bank did across Ghana.
I'm grateful. Kofi Siao is the 2020 vice presidential candidate of the Progressive People's Party.